But when they are not hungry, you can see them coexisting quite peacefully. Whereas we human beings, despite our ability to judge between right and wrong, to have our capacity for moral consideration, however, sometimes maybe it is out of pure greed or out of lack of contentment, or sometimes we indulge in actions purely out of indulgence. For example, sometimes people kill not out of necessity, but out of a sense of sport, say hunting or fishing and so on. And there, in one sense, one could argue that there human beings have proved inferior than animals. So it is in those kind of relativistic terms that is being referred to here. And also one of the main emphasis of using the word here, low, consider recognition of oneself as lower than others, is to underline the point that normally when you give in to our ordinary emotions like anger, hatred, strong attachment, greed, and so on, when you give in to these emotions without any sense of restraint, there is an element in your behavior that is totally oblivious to the impact your action has on other sentient beings, whereas by deliberately cultivating this thought of regarding others as more superior and higher objects worthy of your reverence, what it can do is to provide you with that restraining factor, so that even when emotions arise, they wouldn't be that powerful, kind of disregarding of the impact of your actions upon other sentient beings. So it is on these grounds that this consideration of recognizing oneself or others, recognizing others as superior to yourself is being suggested.
저런 건도는 도시 용문 게마다 당신 모르는 세배는 전도 동년 도고 쇼 지야다디 다 낭배 산제기 최세아가 상무동서 엄마한테 양대를 세워래 최양대를 세우고요래 최양대 세야디 다 저기니 유무방배 차와 유무방배 연대지 유무방배 생구 연대지 유무방배 켜받는데 서로 다가 유무방배 생구 연대지 간에 다 상등도가 산제배 최나로 최소마티 지당에니 그러나 지 소주 담반다고 지 로임 담반다고 지 다가는 지금에나 지 머신을 담반다고 대삼식이 산제배 쇼다 말이지 뭔고도 투몽을 해 그러나 최명에 되게 되죠 대대고를 룽베 친구도 하는 전이 동괴하래 되게 최게지 말해 다 안다디 산제배 최세계 시행도잖아요 간다 타반 양대디 다 최고만 들었어요 하래 가르슬라나 최세아디 동엘리 껴베게저리 냥대기 뇽모베 동엘리 껴봤다. 나다 뇽모베 샤왕도 껴베 동엘리다 탈투고 껴버려. 그래서 이 메인에서는 최고만 되면 디차되기 가래. 그래서 이 메인에서다 최고만디 뇽모베 칭월에 타러다 뇽모방베 제외 연대지 강리야. 최스기 메인에서는 다 산지 최고 그게 넉시로 배 싸워도 뇽모사 차대요. 대좀 전에 뇽모사 민코라 로칸시 유럽문도 줄서나 라준데지 강사 뇽몽버 쳐봐 뭐시워 쳐봐 뭐투어 쟁에 쪼구영엔지 이마 인도산에 뇽몽세명 다바래 저들이 이마 인도산에 동양어 쟁에 사고도 와 사다 라 동양면도 인도산에 동양어 쟁엔데다 방자로 봐.
Then the third verse reads, "May I examine my mind in all actions, and as soon as a negative state occurs, since it endangers myself and others, may I firmly face and avert it." Now this verse really gets to the heart of what could be called the essence of the practice of the Buddha Dharma. When we talk about Dharma or Dharma in the context of Buddhist teachings, we are talking about nirvana or freedom from suffering. And freedom from suffering or nirvana or cessation is the true Dharma. And whereas there are many levels of cessations, for example, like a restraint from killing or murder could be a form of Dharma, but that cannot be called specifically Buddhist Dharma, because a restraint from killing is something that even someone who is non-religious can adopt as a result of following rule of law. If anyone who lives according to a rule of law would subscribe to the basic laws of that country, such as non-killing and so on and so forth. However, the essence of the Dharma that is being spoken of in the Buddhist tradition is that state of freedom from suffering, and also the defilements that lie at the root of suffering, such as kleshas, the defilements. And so this verse talks about how to combat these defilements or afflictive emotions and thoughts. And so one could say that in the Buddhist practice, for a Buddhist practitioner, the real enemy is this enemy within. The real enemies are these mental and emotional defilements. And the Tibetan word for defilements, emotional and mental defilements, is nyomong, which is Sanskrit is klesha. And in the very etymology of the word for affliction is nyomong, which literally means that which afflicts from within. So you can see that even in the very name of that defilement, there is an element of disturbance. That is, there is an element of causing or creation of affliction. So it is these emotional and mental afflictions that really give rise to pain, suffering, and so on. So, and the real task of a Buddhist Dharma practitioner, Buddha Dharma practitioner, is to combat with that inner enemy.
Oh yeah. Now, today we do something. Any pneumonia, that you put there, sing it. The chain of linking beds out of chatting. So today we do something. Now, Hayachibina, Tomachin, then you move. Chunjung, then Chamo, those gay and do net Tonama Jeshin, and a color where Galan sort of charge, and go Chirach because and Tarbe, no me to which you could check you at the neighbor is an Numo Gematan and Buju Chipu is that is sorry.
So, since applying the antidotes to these mental and emotional defilements is really lie at the heart of the Dharma practice, and is in some sense the foundation of the Dharma practice. The text here suggests that it is very important to cultivate the mindfulness right from the beginning, because otherwise, if you let negative emotions and thoughts to arise inside you without any sense of restraint, and without any sense of mindfulness of their negativity, then in some sense you are giving them free rein, so that then they developed to such a proportion that there is simply no way that you can counter them. Whereas if you develop the mindfulness of their negativity, then as they occur instantly or immediately after their occurrence, if you have the mindfulness, you will be able to in some sense stamp it out, so that you don't give them the opportunity or the space to really develop into a full-blown kind of a negative emotion and thought.
Aye. That pneumonia, under deep has that pneumonia, negative that pneumonia, Munjua, shook with Magia, then Bazia, that is all has some years a day. So that really means an Shadang in your bowl of Chambocomia, any, the Shah in your bowl of Mizuocomia. Or that, how can I say? How did they chicken Ajay in your bowl, energy Pungum Jiji, which is number one wouldn't they? Pungum Jiji was not that's when you think when the station number, but tired to her. But I don't like a large piece of tone as they she would do some pretend to her. I didn't wish to do work. She decided, but till the day back and that didn't take it on a social that my shed into some number in a jail channel. Or the 10 those in it could do, you moment you shook up my dear, that he was see.
And this third verse, the way in which it suggests the application of the antidotes, I think really deals at the level of manifest felt experience of emotion. So here, instead of getting to the root, what is being suggested is to apply antidotes that are appropriate to different negative emotions and thoughts. For example, to counter strong emotions of anger, you should cultivate love and compassion. To counter strong emotions of extreme attachment, you should cultivate the thoughts of impurity of that object and so on, undesirable nature of that object and so on. And to counter one's arrogance or pride, you need to reflect upon phenomena which can be humbling to you, which can give rise to a sense of humility in you. For example, one can think about all sorts of various disciplines that one has simply no idea of, has simply no understanding. For example, the sign language interpreter here, when I look at her, the complexity with which she performs the translation, I haven't got a clue what is going on there. And to see that, for me, is quite an humbling experience, because there is a vast array of knowledge out there which I simply do not have even a glimpse. So one should reflect upon these kind of things that could help bring down a level of arrogance or pride. From my own personal experience, whenever I have a little tingling kind of sensation of pride, I think of computers. It really calms me down. Now the fourth verse reads, "When I see beings of a negative disposition, or those oppressed by negativity or pain, may I, as if finding a treasure, consider them precious, for they are rarely met." Now the reason why beings of negative dispositions are kind of identified separately as a focus of training one's mind is because when you encounter such people, generally there is a possibility of your giving into temptations to react in a negative way and strong ways. So, and in a sense, they pose a greater challenge to your ability to maintain your basic training. So therefore, it is important here to specify them so that you can cultivate the thought with a special attention.
Yeah.